in the late 20th century into the early 21st century has brought about new manifested challenges, if you will. Probably over the last 20 years, the increase in violent acts in a lot of neighborhoods across America has made one at least try to more or less try to assess that situation in a way to say, could this be the new 21st century challenge for a new younger generation of blacks? That they have to deal with the whole issue of the manifested violence, the anger and rage issues that, if you will, and like I said earlier, that are laced toxic, if you will, spirits that kind of affect the hip-hop community in a way that it can never really be a viable community until it wants to try to at least muster the willpower to deal with these internal issues. Because they can't look for government to clean that up. They can't look for outside entities, as far as the police departments and other government-connected entities, to come in and solve their problem. The hip-hop culture itself has to have the will to challenge themselves to at least try to not run away from that issue, not be complacent about that issue, but more or less see the need to try to create a habitable environment for the babies in the coming decades and generations, if you will. To try to let them know we fought a good fight internally to try to more or less create hip-hop and all that that entails with the culture to make it more or less a valid culture in the eyes of the world, and not let it be just more or less a culture that created beats and lyrics and all that that entails. But they had relevant issues that they raised in creating that culture and addressing issues in a very intelligent way, in a very effective way. But the violence, the anger, and the rage is something that they can't run away from. So it's up to them to try to at least address this internal problem in a very formidable way. No, they have an internal problem that they have to deal with, and they can't look at it in a way that they can just stay complacent. It's something they're going to have to address. When you see a homicide rate over the last 20 years, and you see the homicide rate and it leveraging towards more blacks being hit by gunfire, or those blacks that are being wounded by gunfire, and you look at that situation, and you can go back 40, 50, 30 years back, you've never seen us acting out in that kind of violent capacity towards each other. So there's something that has went wrong in the last 20 years that should indicate to us that we have an anger and rage problem that we need to address. And we need to address it early on, especially with the baby. That future has revealed to us that we've got another internal challenge that we better be dealing with, unless we're headed for death and destruction. What is that death and destruction? Not that all of us will be wiped out. That's not where I'm going. But we will be paralyzed for long, long periods of time in the future with the whole issue of what anger and rage and violence has done and what it has produced out of the black community. But this will be an ongoing and repetitive problem. Why should we feel at any level, Tony, that this is our way of life? There's the upper and the lower world, and we have to more or less meet those two together and say this is our way of life. We shouldn't accept that kind of attitude. What we should do is be wise enough to try to impress upon individuals that we are duty-bound to the babies. Forget the grown-ups, to the babies, that we have to raise awareness around this issue. And if hip-hop can deliver a message in that arena, it should do so on a consistent basis.